Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the Susie L. McMahon, that's me, Virtual Book Club. Tonight, we are going to be talking with Kimberly Brock. I got to always point the wrong way. Kimberly from Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Welcome, welcome, Kimberly. We're so excited to have you back with our Virtual Book Club featuring you now for a second time. And Francine is with us. Francine, you're in Virginia, right?
Richmond, Virginia.
Yay. Yay. So I'm sitting in South Carolina. So once again, we have three Southeast or Southern states represented for this conversation. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and start, Kimberly, if it's okay, with reading your bio from your website. Is that all right? Okay. Hopefully you guys can still see me when I push this tab. I hope you can see me still. I'm going to read this. Short intro bio. Kimberly Brock, you guys, is an award-winning author of The Fabled Earth, featured as a must-read in the fall of 2024 by Town and Country magazine, and The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare, which we featured a while back, which spent 3 weeks on Southern Independent Booksellers' bestseller list. Both novels have been shortlisted for the prestigious Townsend Prize for Fiction. Her debut novel, The River Witch, was the recipient of the Georgia Author of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kimberly has been featured on the History Channel's History Greatest Mysteries and is the founder of Tinderbox Writers Workshop, a transformative experience for women in the arts. That sounds interesting. A former actor and special needs educator, she speaks widely on the creative life and Southern and historical fiction, serving as a guest lecturer for many regional and national writing workshops, including at the Pat Conroy Literary Center. A native of North Georgia, she now lives in Atlanta, where she is at work on her fourth novel. Welcome, Kimberly Brock. Wow, that's quite the bio.
I know. Don't I sound important? And here I sit in my dining room making things up.
That is fantastic. And so I want to share the cover of your book with everyone real quick here. Francine has it in paperback or hardback?
Mine's hardback.
Okay, so here's hardback. Isn't it beautiful?
Because I was a pre-order.
Yes, you are.
And then it just came out in paperback, right?
Yeah.
What other ways can people get your book?
Every way you can consume a book, it's out there. Everywhere you can buy books, it's out there.
Fantastic.
And on Audible.
Yes, I love the Audible too. She does a great job.
Who's the narrator?
Gosh, don't ask me that.
Okay, sorry.
I remember her name right now. She also did. She's done some of my favorite audiobooks, and she also did the Crawdads audiobooks, and so she's a beautiful narrator. Gosh, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name right this minute.
It's okay.
You gotta tell me these things.
I know. I'm sorry. I played unfair. Well, I just was wondering. I'm going to have Francine ask the first question after this question, but Kimberly, can you explain to us a little bit just what in your life personally, when you made a transition from your role before you became an author, what was it that happened in your life and you said, hey, I'm going to try to write a novel? What happened? Personally, backstory.
It is a funny story. So I had children. I had been a teacher. My dad always said, whatever you do, I was the creative one out of the three kids. My brother and sister both have things that they are very good at and creative at, but I was the arts kid. And my dad was always worried, telling me I had to have health insurance, whatever I decided to do. And so I was a dancer. We talked about this before when I was a kid, and I thought I would teach dance, and that didn't work out. And then I thought, I went into theater in high school and college. I went to college on a theater scholarship. There's not a lot of health insurance involved in theater. So I thought, I'll be a teacher. I'll teach theater. And then I switched to elementary education after I directed a children's play, and I had these kids that were upper elementary, and they were really like a lot of trouble. And so I was not bored. I was having a lot of fun with them. But after I had my children, my first two were 16 months apart. And we were in Seattle when my daughter was born, and then we were in Raleigh area when my son was born. And I had never even been to the town we moved to in Raleigh. When I was early pregnant with him, we moved there. So these two babies so close together, I didn't know anybody in town. All I did was go to the grocery store and change diapers and make people sleep and feed people and try and get my own sleep. And I was so bored. And the internet was kind of new. And I sent my very first email to an author. I had picked up her paperback at the grocery store, actually, while we were living in Washington State. And I really loved this book. And it had her email address on the back. And so, like a pen pal, I thought I would never hear from her. I just wrote her a letter to tell her how much I enjoyed her book. And she wrote me back. And I thought I was going to die. An author had written me back. And we started this correspondence. Her name is Deborah Smith. She lives in North Georgia still. She's a brilliant author. She was so kind to me. And at some point she said, have you ever thought about writing to publish anything? And I said, no, I really haven't. I mean, I'd won little awards and things in school as a kid and wrote some really bad poetry when I was young and in love and those kinds of things. But I never thought I would publish something, especially not a book. Although I lived in the library, all I did was read. So you would think that it would seem like an actual thing you could do, but it sounded to me like being a movie star. It just sounded way far out of my realm of possibility. She and some women had started a small press. They were all bestsellers in New York, but they were Southern and they weren't selling their Southern stories very well in New York. So they started this small press of their own. And they had a little town they had created, and they had anthologies with short stories. And if you used their characters in the small town, and then you can insert your own characters into a situation. And that's what she asked me to do. So I took about 2 weeks, and I took a memory of my mom's from when she was a little girl. And I sweetened it up. I hallmarked it up. I made it a little sweeter than it actually was from her family. And I wrote this little story. And I asked Deb when I was finished with it, so what should I do with this? And she said, well, send me a synopsis. So I looked up synopsis. And I wrote a synopsis that was longer than the story and sent it to her. And she said, this sounds great. When you're finished, send it to me. So I hit send because the story was already done. And she bought it that afternoon.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that was easy. I'll write a book. And it took me about 6 years to write The River Witch.
Oh.
I had a lot to learn.
Wow, that's amazing. How fun is that? And so approximately how old were you when you wrote?
I was in my 30s, my 30s, mid 30s, I would say. And that book came out River Witch came out in 2012. And then won Georgia Author of the Year. And Deb Smith is the same person who bought that book as well. Bell Books published that. Thank the Lord. I shopped that book all over and could never sell it. And I just felt stuck with it. And I didn't want to just put it under my bed. And I actually asked her out of pity to read it for me and just tell me if it was awful because I wanted to move on. And she bought it. Wow. So I owe my career to Deb Smith. And then it took another 6 years to write Eleanor Dare and 3-ish to write Fabled Earth. And now I'm working on another one. So.
Fantastic. So Francine, what is your first question about the Fabled Earth to Kimberly?
Well, first of all, Kimberly, thank you so much for your time this afternoon tonight, whenever, speaking with us. And I'm so excited to see you on Zoom because you know how much I love your last two books. I probably need to still read your first one. But could you tell us and our viewers a little bit about where the idea came from for this beautiful book and how long it took you to research and get it on the page?
So this one was an interesting journey. When I was writing River Witch, I stumbled across the history that I used that inspired the Lost Book of Eleanor Dare. With this book, I had not come up with an idea, and I had a 2-book contract. So while I was in Beaufort at Pat Conroy Center, which, by the way, when you're there, it's just out of body as an author. You cannot quite believe that they're letting you do it. I was thinking the whole time I was teaching this workshop there, I was thinking, I have got to sound smarter than this. I need to come up with something smarter to say. And I said, I think all stories are ghost stories. And I thought, that was brilliant. And then I thought, what does that even mean? Do I know what that means? And do I believe that? And the answer was yes to both questions, but I wasn't really sure how to put it into words. So I thought, okay, that's what I want to write about, but I didn't know where to set it. So I got married in 1996 in the backyard under a big oak tree. Our house was built in 1912. The tree was planted in 1912. I wore a little dress that was Sears and Roebuck 1912. We had about 26 people in folding chairs, and little ladies from church made pound cake. We got married at 10, and we were on a plane in Chattanooga at 1. So it was quick, and it was great, and it was kind of secret. Not really, but it felt very intimate. So 3 months later, it hit the news, and we, like everybody else, heard that JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette had been married in a secret wedding on Cumberland Island, Georgia. And I thought, we're just like the Kennedys. And I mean, not really at all, but I loved the idea that they had found this little quiet, intimate, private place to do that. That was sweet to me. I never cared at all about the Kennedys until that, but it connected them to my state. And I had always loved the Georgia coast. That's where I grew up going to the beach. My first beach trip was to St. Simons. And so I wanted to go to Cumberland, had never been to Cumberland. And it was going to be our 25th wedding anniversary. And my husband surprised me. And we were talking earlier, I have a spinal fusion. So I can't camp. Oh, how sad, right? Can't camp.
Feel bad for you.
You can't. There's nowhere else to stay on Cumberland but this one inn. It's called the Grayfield Inn, and it is one of the houses that the Carnegie family built there after the Gilded Age. It was for her children. So he dropped a mortgage payment, and we went to stay at the Grayfield Inn. And as we were pulling up along the side of the island, and you know what it looks like. There's all the oaks with all their arms and their moss hanging. And it was so quiet. We were the only ones on this ferry to get there. It's all a national park. It's mostly undeveloped. So it was super quiet. And I looked at it and I realized it would have been JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette's 25th wedding anniversary too. Wow. But they died in that plane crash. Right? Mm-hmm. And all of the hair on my head and my arms stood up. And I thought, if I wanted a place to write a ghost story, this is it. This is the South. This is ghost stories. This is all of that history that just rolls over and over and over again, and how we try and own this place or call it home or call it our own, and what we do to one another for that. It was all encapsulated in Cumberland for me. I think it's packed full of ghosts. I think it's probably as haunted as the South gets. And so that's where the seed of it began. And Cleo Woodbine, my main character, really is how I felt that day, stepping off that little ferry boat in this place with all of this history and this money, the wealth. And I didn't know what to make of it. It's such a strange place. And that feeling was where I started.
It's a great place to start. That's fascinating.
That's amazing. I love it. I love every single thing about it. I love the fact that things came alive for you at the Pat Conroy Literary Center. You know, my connection there.
Of course, the Pat Conroy's ghost, I have no doubt, is just sitting around smoking a cigar, laughing at all of us, right?
Or saying, just keep on telling those stories.
Right.
Story. So, speaking of stories, we're in about 15 minutes in our interview, and I think we have a surprise guest here today. And I was wondering if Kimberly would do an introduction, and then I'll bring her on our stage. Kimberly, who is here with us today?
My friend and publishing sister, Grace Helena Walls. Hello, Miss Grace. This
Hello,
is
thank you for having
Her
me.
debut fiction is Southern by Design. You see, Francine loved it. I did too. I got to blurb this book. I was so excited to meet her. And then we found out our publisher didn't tell us we live like 5 minutes down the road from each other in the same town. So
Seriously? Oh my God.
seriously, and we did not know. So Southern by Design is her first novel, and she has a new one coming this fall called Good Hair Days, which I'm so jealous of her titles. They're great. So her fiction is sweet and it has depth and it's sticky Southern. It's humid Southern. It's beautiful. So I adore Grace, and I know your book club will too.
I am so excited to meet you, Grace. I just literally met you, seeing you come in on the in the wings, as they call, in the production. I don't know. I'm a travel advisor, and I just have a pretty darn unique book club that just keeps getting better and better on days like today. So, Grace and Kimberly, I want the two of you to ask each other a question, and then Francine and I'll jump in maybe with a follow-up, but let's make this a four-way conversation. But Grace, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today as a surprise guest and a future featured author. We'll work out those details later. But Kimberly, go ahead and ask Grace a question, or vice versa, whichever.
All right, Grace.
Don't make it too hard.
I didn't know I was doing this till a minute ago, so don't blame me.
Blame me.
How old are your children, and how do you find time to write?
Oh, okay. Well, the start of that question is easy. So I have a son who is 8, and I have a daughter who is 6. And finding time to write it's a great question. I was actually talking about this recently, that the short answer is that I write whenever my children are with anybody else. I am not one of those people that can write like on the go. Like I hear these stories about authors who can write on their phone and they're, out in public, and that is not me. Like I need to be by myself in a room with the door closed. I wish I were more on the go and flexible. That would be awesome. Although I don't know if I could do it on a phone. Respect to those people that do. But one thing I was talking about with someone recently is that I almost get more done when I have less space, like less time. That there's this strange thing that happens when I have like a full day, like my children are at camp from, 9 to 4, that suddenly I have all the time in the world, and all of these other things, start coming in, and I'm like, well, I could do this and I could do that. I could, everything is a yes. And then suddenly I have no writing time left. So that's me. And also thank you for such a warm welcome. And thank you all for having me. I was kind of in the wings listening to those last couple questions. And every time I hear Kimberly Brock speak about her stories, it just gets me so excited to read something. And you are just such a true storyteller. You very quickly have everybody on the edge of their seats. So, question for you. So maybe this is like a psychological question, like I'm asking to make myself feel better, but tell us a little bit about like what's the most difficult thing that you wrote? Like, was there a book that gave you the most difficult time, or that you had something, not that you have to go into any more detail than you want to, but was there one book or one revision process or something specifically in your career that was challenging for you, particularly challenging, and how did you kind of get through it?
I think when there's a point in the middle of each project that is the same. And it's like anything else that you do over and over again, and you forget the hard part, right? So it's the same for me. There's this point of panic. Like I'll get the first draft is always the worst. I am not good at drafting. I feel like I'm squeezing things out of cheesecloth in my brain down onto the page, trying to make a thing. And I hate it. I really hate the drafting. I like the research. I love the revision. I could revise on the same book until I'm dead and be happy. Just writing it over and over again. And I do. I write them 2 or 3 times before they're ever turned in. But the draft takes the longest, and I don't feel confident while I draft. I feel the whole time like it's falling apart and like it's stupid. And I'm not smart enough to make it smarter. And it's nothing's happening. Why isn't this happening? Why aren't more things? Why aren't they doing things? Why is this? Does this have any meaning at all? Like, what is this book really about? When I have all those questions still, I'm miserable. And it's about like the last third of that drafting process. I am a misery to be around. And I am almost right there with the next book. And because it's my 4th book, I'm at the point now where I know, oh, I am. This is that room. I'm in that room again. And so I'm not panicking as much this time. I know that it will come together, but it's still just a gross feeling. And I think it is, when you say it's a psychological question, I think that that's true. It is a subconscious thing to write a story. You are having a conversation with your subconscious. And that's tricky. It's tricky. You know what you don't know, and you have to figure out how to get your subconscious to tell you that thing. Isn't that weird? It's bizarre, but I know that's what we're all chasing when we are writing. We want to know what we really think. And it's almost like you can't look at it straight on and let you know that you see it. It has to do its thing over here, and then you'll have it. So that moment where I'm pretending like, oh, I don't see you over there, Kim, what you're doing, I'm not watching. That's the hard part for me.
Yeah, I can relate to so much of that. I'm not a drafter either, and I feel much more comfortable in revisions. Once something is on the page and there's at least a semblance of a story, that then it's like, okay, all is not lost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to say, Grace, I'm looking at your bookshelf and it's giving me heart palpitations. How many books are in there?
Me too.
So these are, some of these are my husband's. It goes kind of higher. This was one thing that when we moved into this house, I was like, I have to have a bookshelf. I have to have something. And we actually DIY'd this bookshelf because the quote that we got to do it for somebody, an actual carpenter to do it, was just astronomical. But these are all of my books, some of my husband's books. And I have some of my own books in there, which is kind of crazy. So I don't know how many, but it's a lot. And I'm having to start squeezing them in. And we're having those conversations about, okay, which of these books are ones that we love and which are the books we can find new homes for? And, all those fun conversations.
Rescue books.
Yes. Yes.
That's
I have a bookshelf, but my bookshelf is not that pretty. We have a huge room in our basement. There's 2 big walls that are bookshelves, and they're full. But they're not pretty. I haven't put them online. I haven't done that yet. Maybe I should.
That's awesome. Francine, do you have a question for either one of our authors? I'm going to jump in and make sure you get a question in.
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to see Grace here too today, because she knows how much I love this book. Because and even, Kimberly, I always said I loved your book too.
Oh, let's don't talk about
my
book.
Yours is a little bit older, so I'm not still talking about it. But Grace's is still a little bit new, and I've told her, 100 times on social media how much I love this book. Cannot wait for your next one to come out, because the title is one of the sayings that I've had for years. Good Hair Days. That title is just the best. But Grace, would you tell us a little bit about where your idea came from, this book? As soon as I saw you in this book and knew it was set in Charleston, because Charleston I absolutely love, I would move there in a minute. I was like, I have to read that book. So anyway, if you could tell us a little bit about your debut, that would be great.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate your support online. It's, the internet can be a Wild West experience sometimes. So having those, friendly faces and those encouraging comments always goes so far. So my inspiration for the book, I attended College of Charleston for 4 years. And so I got to live downtown, which, I know. And at the time, I was 18 years old and I decided that's where I was going. And I got to my dorm and, it was downtown. And of course, at that point, I was like, well, this is just it. Like, I guess this is what happens when you go to college. And only now that like years outside and maturity and experience later that I'm like, oh my goodness, I was so fortunate to get to live downtown and have that experience. But since I first went to Charleston, I had been inspired by the architecture. So it's just so unique and charming. And one of the things that always struck me about it was how well maintained and well cared for it is. So I thought a lot about who the people are that do those jobs and what the special skill sets are that they have, because you can't just put anyone, with good intentions on a repair job for one of these homes, or very quickly things are going to go south. So I had always been inspired by Charleston and the architecture. I also was a really big fan of Dorothea Benton Frank. So I had read all of her books that were, similar settings. And I really wanted to write a Charleston set book. And in this book, I kind of married that with my personal love for like HGTV and my bookshelves, my, attempt at being a home interior designer, and on amateur, very much so. And one of the things that I thought was, as an HGTV fan, is that there's no Charleston show. There's California, and there's, I love Hometown that they do in Mississippi now, and they have all of these different shows. But one thing I thought was that there's such a gap. Like, why hasn't somebody done that as a show? And so why not write a book about it? Like, how cool would that be? So that was kind of the seed of inspiration, was marrying like the HGTV interest and Charleston and the architecture and the culture too, the culture of Charleston, and what happens when we put all that together, and can we make a story out of it?
Beautifully done.
Thank you.
Just love. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Wow. Okay, so speaking of Charleston, can I do a quick commercial for something I just announced for 2027?
Absolutely.
Do y'all mind?
No, because I know when it is. I just want to know the dates.
I don't know yet. Can you see that?
Yes.
Wow.
Do you see that? Okay, so Grace and Kimberly both know. Well, Grace, you might not know. Kimberly knows. And I have done, this will be the fourth, what I call, that's the biggest mouthful. Everybody hates it, but the Low Country Literary and Leisure Getaway to raise funds for the Pat Conroy Center. We just had one in 2025, and then I'm going to build this one that's going to be in Charleston and Beaufort, and the dates will be determined once I can get the best contract from those lovely properties in Charleston, and then a couple that I'm close to here in Beaufort. And what's really cool about it is it's evolved over time. The whole point was to bring the pages of one of Pat Conroy's novels to life through activities. And each year it's developed more to where I have one book is the theme, but then every featured author that attends is in charge of an activity. If that makes sense. Like Rebecca Dwight Brough does the walk to Robert Small's home. And so that's all in the creative works. And I will be looking to have authors attend. So I'll be in touch.
Yay!
That sounds so cool. Oh my goodness. What an awesome event.
Yeah. And Grace, you're both in Georgia? You and Kimberly? What neighborhood? Because I grew up in Atlanta.
We're both in Alpharetta, just north of Atlanta.
Okay. So my brother lives in the Johns Creek area.
Right.
Same exact place. Oh, wow. Yep. Small world, huh?
It is.
Okay. So Kimberly, tell us a little bit more. This just came out in paperback, right?
Yes.
Tell people about where they can get your wonderful book.
It is available everywhere that books are sold. Please go and order it. If you want it to go and pick it up in your bookstore, you may have to ask for it. I think things are tight lately for a lot of authors, and shelf space is tight, but it is available through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm thinking Poe and Company here in Milton will have signed copies. So will Foxtail Bookshop, and I think both of them will ship if you call them and ask for a copy to be shipped to you that's been signed. And if you email me or use the contact on my website, I'm happy to send a book plate that's signed.
So could you send me one for one of my 3 copies?
Of course.
This one I picked up at Nevermore the other day.
Oh, yeah.
So Nevermore in Beaufort, this fun little place. And Grace, where can people get your books?
So similarly, I anywhere books are sold. I don't know if Anywhere has signed copies. But definitely it's at Poe and Company in Milton as well. It's available at Foxtail. I don't know what they have in terms of copies. It's actually in store at Target right now, which is very exciting.
I'm so excited.
Target.
Yes. But of course we love our indie booksellers. So if you can, please go to an indie bookseller. And just like Kimberly said, if your local one doesn't have it, they can easily order it for you to come in.
Nice. And Francine, I'm going to let you ask the last question, and then we'll do thank yous and goodbyes. Francine, ask each of the authors one question. What would it be? Go for it.
Well, I'd like to know from each of you all, what are you all reading right now? What are you reading and liking or recommending book? Kimberly, you go first.
I am reading Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Is that her name? V.E. And Victoria, I know is her first name, and then I forget what her author name is. And I am doing a lot of research as well right now, because the book that I'm working on right now has a magical realism element to it. And so I tend to read things that aren't exactly in my lane while I'm drafting, and she's not, but it leans in that direction. So I get a little taste for it, a little bit of flavor for what I'm working on. If I read the same sort of book that I'm writing, it's a mess. Like it gets mixed in with what I'm writing. So I have to kind of veer off into a different genre. But I love her work. She's very sophisticated writer.
Oh, new author for me.
Me
Grace?
too.
Yeah, so similarly, if I'm writing, I read in a different genre. And so one of my favorite genres to read in that's different than what I'm writing is thrillers. So I'm actually reading one right now that's called, and this one's not, I don't know that I would call it a thriller, but it's The Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage. And it's been great. I'm almost to the end of it, but it's about this married couple that before they got married, they were kind of a tag team of serial killers. And of course, they only go after the bad guys. And when they got married, they decided that they were going to quit killing, and so that they could live this kind of wholesome suburban life and not cast any kind of bad seeds into their life now that they had a child. And it's about what happens when they have that kind of itch to kill, and what unravels between the two of them. And they're kind of doing their own thing. And there's questions about who's where and who's doing what. And it's by somebody named Asia. I'm gonna get her name wrong.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
It's okay.
I don't write it down. I forget. Totally forget. This
Asia
is cracking
McKay.
me up. What?
Asia who?
I think it's McKay. I want to make sure I give her credit. Sorry, I'm
Okay,
Googling.
no
Asia
worries.
McKay. It might be Mac. It's Mackay. She's from London.
Wow.
So funny. You're reading about serial killers and I'm reading about vampires. Like,
And I have to jump in, Francine, you got to ask me the question because this is just a little bit more plug for who we just featured. He's from Georgia. He went
What
to
are
high
you
school
reading,
with me,
Susie?
Chamblee High School. He just launched Rule One, Michael Lucker, former still screenwriter, professor. Y'all check it out for
We got to read that. It sounds like a great one.
Yes, it's a fast read, and he just had his launch party up in Flowery Branch, Georgia, north around Lake Lanier, and he's headed to Florida. So I'm like, go, Mike, go! This is a high school buddy of mine, so I'm excited for him.
That's very cool.
Anyway, I'll leave it at that. This is about Kimberly and Grace. So Grace,
all the Southern storytellers, we like it.
I know. We need to correspond via email to figure out when you would like me to feature you in a similar setting like this, and I will email you on that. Kimberly, I hope that you continue to move forward in your new novel, but I've got to finish this one. So I leave for Europe. When do I leave? I've left for Europe by the time this will be out. No, I'm just kidding. And I will have plenty of reading material. And I'm so glad that both of your works are available on different platforms. So I don't have to take too many books in my suitcase. And I want to thank you both for your time and energy and creative inspiration. Every time I meet, you said at the very beginning, Kimberly, you were a stay-at-home mom, or you couldn't believe an author wrote you. I can't believe I have been doing this since March of 2020, and each and every time I meet a new author, I find inspiration myself, and I want to thank you for being part of our community. So
thank you. This is the best. This is the thing we do it for, these conversations, because we're all readers. We're all storytellers, and it's just we do it for community, right? It's about
absolutely
community for sure. I always get so excited when Susie asks me to join, and I get to see you all and talk to you and meet you on Zoom. And like one day I'll get to meet you in person, maybe in March of 2027.
Virginia.
Kimberly, Grace, you both have an open invitation to come here and do a book party. Trust me.
You.
If you ever came this way and you said, "Hey, I would gather my people," like I just had Christy Woodson Harvey in June 15th, and it was like the highlight of my summer.
Yeah.
And so the book community is so when I get to do this fills my soul, because the book and author community is one of the nicest communities I've ever been a part of. And, there's been a lot of sadness with us some this year, some of us more than others like me, but this really makes me happy. And to support both Grace and Kimberly, your books on social media, reading, like I'm so excited for Grace's book. Kimberly, do you know when your next book's going to come out?
Mine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I actually don't. I know I have to turn it in by March 1st. So,
okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Y'all won't see me much until
she's going off the grid.
We won't be. She'll be hiding, but we have Grace's book to look forward to in the fall. Grace, can you tell us your date again when that's going to be out?
Yes, and I'll show you the cover. It's
look at this cover, y'all.
November 11th.
Love it. November 11th.
Yes, and that's a modern take on Steel Magnolias. So
I think that between the cover and the title,
I know
it's going to be perfection. I just know it, because that title is just. I used to say that to my hairdresser all the time when I had long hair. This good hair days, man. Yeah, I love a good hair day, and it was always.
Yeah.
And then he had to retire, so that's good. But thank you all so much for your time, Susie. Thank you for having me help. You know how much I love this.
You're welcome. And
And
I'm
thank you
going to
guys
say
for having me.
you're welcome. Good that you guys connected and we had a surprise guest. I'm going to end our live now. And everyone, just make sure you're part of the Virtual Book Club group. But you'll see this maybe even prematurely out on YouTube and all the other things in the social world. But we're hoping to get Grace on the schedule for this coming up fall/winter. Bye, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.